Welcome. So happy to have you here. Gosh, I'm literally like, I'm just so, I'm just like a brief aside, seriously speaking. I just did a mini meditation before starting this, and the fact that I'm doing this just makes me so happy and like so excited. I don't even think y'all understand. Even the fact that it's just like for me and it's just like run by me and it's sorry, I'm taking my bracelet off because I realize it's going to be like scratching against the table. But yeah, there's just something about it, especially this medium as opposed to like other mediums that maybe are less able to be independently produced. Like for example with writing, yes, of course you write for yourself as you should, but even just the immediacy of being able to see a finished product, and really that's just what it is. Like it's literally just the immediacy with this medium specifically, like this podcast format. For me, the thing that makes it, that feels like payoff in my brain, is just being able to see a finished product, period, point blank. No matter like how polished it looks or like how good it looks or whatever, whenever, like it's just like, okay, when it's done, it's done, and I feel like I did something, and I love that. And I love that. And I don't know, I just like sat down and I was like, oh, here we are again, like back in this chair doing this thing like once again, to work on it like all week, which is what my weeks usually look like, and then put it out and then it's just done. And that feels good. So that being said, hello, here we are. Like here we are back again. In advance, I think there's like some sort of something in the air right now, so I don't really know what that's about. But that being said, if I'm a little, like like if my respiratory system is a little bit out of order, that's like what's going on with that. Also, my eye literally twitching. But hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay because we're here. Hey, it's okay because we're here. Anyway, there are a lot of things that I want to talk about today in depth, and I'm excited about them. Before we get started, though, terrible, 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 horrible news for the anemic community if you've been drinking matcha. And I don't know how to say this, but I actually found out this week that, hey, if you're drinking matcha, like pretty much in a specific amount on like a daily basis, yeah, baby, like that's making you low iron. And if you're already low iron, then it's literally like taking the iron that you already have. Obviously, when I found this out, I was really, really shocked and like really terribly devastated. All things considering, I am severely, I would say, I am like severely anemic, like very, very, very low iron, like running 10 degrees before, like below average body height on a normal day-to-day basis, just because the cells, like I don't know, like they're not carrying the blood flow. So whatever. Point is, found out this week that apparently matcha makes you low iron, and if you're already low iron, then even worse. So that's something to research. If you needed something to research this week, and maybe just another reason to like crash out, maybe like there was one more push, one more final push, right like up to the edge for you. That was the final push for me, actually. I'm gonna be honest, like that was actually the final push, and that almost that almost ruined my week. Do your own research, but I had to let somebody know, like people have to hear about this is the thing, because like for example, like and there's a reason, like I know the reason, I read it on the internet, but I don't want to like misquote and like misinform because that's dangerous. However, after reading the reason, I'm like, damn. And I can't even, knowing how low my iron is and how it quite literally, like, literally impacts, like, my function, like, on a day-to-day basis, I just don't know that I can, like, in good conscience drink matcha anymore. And that's horrible. Like, really, like, that's really horrible. Like, that's really actually very awful. And I'm really, really sad about it. But I'm trying not to think about it and about how I'm going to have to become a coffee person. Because as I was also saying, maybe last week, I already hate coffee. But now, I already hate coffee. But now that I'm going to have to drink it against my will because matcha is literally like sucking the iron from my veins. Right. So, yeah, terrible news. Sorry for that. Had to start off strong and true and really share that truth with my people, with my and with my community. So, yeah. Anyway, what else is new besides that heavy discovery? Life is only getting better post or like since cutting out social media like screen time. Like I literally like get on like post my little videos for this and then I like get off. Life is only getting better. Again, no surprises there. That's pretty much it. Those are like the updates. Those are the updates. Just excited, just happy to be here. That being said, let's get into literally Wuthering Heights because I have thoughts. Now, what I will say is I think the Bad Bunny episode, I said something about how I had started the book and I felt like we were being lied to about it. And honestly, having finished the book, I kind of maintain that sentiment. Having finished the book, here's the thing about Wuthering Heights. It's literally, and I don't know if it's always been considered a romance either. This is the other thing. I don't have any memory of like what people were saying about it or what culturally, like how it was being received culturally. I mean, other than the fact that it's just an English lit like classic, that's really all I knew. I don't know what the dialogue surrounding it was prior to us finding out a couple of years ago or about a year and a half ago now about like this movie coming out, right? Or this film being produced. So, that being said, I really don't have like too strong of a frame of reference as far as like how the book has always been discussed. But that being said, we talked about a little bit how it's just not a romance. So let's start there. Hey, let's start there. If you haven't read it, just know it's literally not a romance. Like it's actually just not romance. It's very like, but it's interesting because the thing is, it was once categorized like when I initially went to read it because I wanted to read it like in October as like a spooky read because it was on the list of like psychological sort of fiction, like things that I could read. And I don't know that I would consider it psychological either. I don't really know what I would consider it in terms of genre. It's a very, like, I would almost, if I'm using like modern language, like I guess classics is technically, I guess, a genre, but like if I'm using modern language, I would almost honestly, and this is going to sound overly like simplified, but I would honestly just call it slice of life. Like that's what it is. Like if you're expecting anything to, it's just, I mean, it's extremely, okay, actually, here's the real truth. It is extremely intense, but it's because the characters are just very intense people, but nothing really even all that insane happens in the book. So I wouldn't even say like the story is intense. I would just say you are dealing with some really truly like spiteful, hateful, sinister, problematic motherfuckers in that book. Like, that is what I will say. You are really dealing with some, like, some toxically toxic characters, some real dark, diabolical behavior, which is fine. Like, which is fine, I think, which is fine. But that being said, it's like, it really wasn't like all that crazy. It wasn't even too much, not even too much. So loved the book because I feel like Emily Bronte, like I feel like her and I are made of the same stuff. Emily Bronte and I, like, literally, like, made of the same stuff. I just loved her. I thought it was very funny in the way that it was written. Like, it's like this sort of shit. Actually, I did. I had to go get my copy just because I was like, let me actually, like, talk about some shit that I know what I'm talking about. And I can't do that if I don't have receipts. So, first and foremost, actually, now that I think about it, while I'm sitting here and while I'm saying it out loud, what I really think should have been done with this story is, I think it should have been like a period dark comedy. So, like, sort of like, imagine The Great, but meets like Wednesday, but meets like, in my brain, I consider like The Great, if we're talking about like period satire sort of things within that realm, like comedy, I think The Great is kind of perfect, and I think the performances are stellar, and like Elle Fanning, and I think Nicholas Hoult is the one in that, and is the man that I'm thinking of, but they do it so good. And I think that sort of like that tone mixed with the visible, because honestly, what I will say about Wuthering Heights, the movie, is that it was literally gorgeous. Beautiful, 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 beautiful gowns. Dead ass beautiful gowns. There was a moment where there was like this silver and red situation, and I literally like still think about it. Beautiful. So visually, I think I'm thinking of like the show on Netflix Wednesday, but honestly, visually, the Wuthering Heights that we got is like that fantastical sort of situation. That being said, though, what it should have been was a 10-episode mini-series dark comedy. But let's talk about like why I loved the book. Now, Emily Bronte says a few things. And maybe it's just funny because this is like not how we speak anymore, not really. But the way that she says things, I'm like, why would you use that combination? Like, I get it, but it's just like that combination of words. The thing that I found hilarious about it was that I was like, this is all so extremely specific, and the way that and now the syntax is very good. Like, her writing is brilliant. The syntax is really, really good. Just the way that these sentences land, though, I'm like, if you're just skimming and you're not like getting, like, if every word is not landing, then it's not landing. This shit was funny as fuck, though. Let me find, like, because I have a few lines highlighted here that I was like, these are my favorite lines. What I will say is, because I'm seeing some lines that I highlighted in here. And while I wouldn't necessarily categorize this book as a romance, because I just don't know that there's enough romance in it for it to be a romance, I think it really is slice of life, and there are just two people who love each other very deeply. There are like some lines in here that I remember, like, the feeling of reading them and being like, wait, because I'm in danger. You know what I mean? Like, gosh, first of all, Kathy and Heathcliff, so toxic. Like, we know this. We knew they were toxic. But my God, the things that he says in this book, hate. He is a deeply spiteful person, Heathcliff is. So I'm not saying that I want this or that I'm in search of this, but oh my gosh, and we're going to talk about romance today. Don't even worry about it, because we're going to talk about romance today. But one of the things that he says is, he is reading Kathy. If you don't know anything about the book, essentially, spoiler alert, like, Catherine dies. Okay. He is like reading her in her last moment. This is like one of the last things he says to her before he dies. He says, "Why did you betray your own heart, Kathy? I have not one word of comfort. You deserve this. You have killed yourself. Yes, you may kiss me and cry and wring out my kisses and tears. They'll blight you, they'll damn you. You loved me. Then what right had you to leave me? What right, answer me, for the poor fancy you felt for Linton? Because misery and degradation and death, and nothing that God or Satan could inflict would have parted us. You, of your own will, did it. I have not broken your heart. You have broken it. And in breaking it, you have broken mine. So much the worse for me that I am strong." This is literally on her deathbed. "Do I want to live? What kind of living will it be when you, oh God, would you like to live with your soul in the grave?" Oof. And then he's like kissing her. He's kissing her and he says, "I forgive what you have done to me. I love my murderer, but yours, how can I?" Because she's killing herself because she's so ill. At least, like, in the book, that's, like, kind of how they portray it. In the movie, it was weird. Like, she had, like, some sort of weird infection, just different vibes. In the book, she's literally, like, killing herself because she's so sad, essentially, by, like, starving herself out while she's, like, pregnant. It's, like, a whole thing. And, like, laying in bed for, like, whatever weeks. So, anyway, there are some zingers, because that's, I will say, like, that's a great, there's a lot of really, really, I mean, we know that there are, like, some famously romantic lines up in here. That being said, there's also some shit in here that's funny as fuck. Okay, so, like, for example, I highlighted a few lines on this page, so this is just to give you guys, like, an idea of what I'm talking about. They're like, so they're dealing with this child, Linton. He's like frail and sickly, but he's also kind of a pain because he's like really spoiled and has been super sheltered his whole life. So they're dealing with him. And this is from the perspective of Nellie, who is the housekeeper. Okay, so basically, he's doing this thing where Nellie and Catherine are like kind of tending to him because Catherine went to go visit him. Young Catherine. There's a new Catherine, her daughter, the original Catherine's daughter. We're in part 2 of the book now. He is like doing this thing where he's basically terrorizing Catherine. He keeps like talking about how he's like shunning her essentially because he's like, I don't want to talk to you. I can't deal with you. Like, I wasn't having this. You coming here and saying things that I didn't like essentially is made me sickly. So now that I'm sickly, it's your fault. Nellie obviously is like, what the fuck are we talking about? Because what the fuck are we talking about? So she goes, "I thoroughly gauged his disposition from his behavior and saw at once that it would be folly to attempt humoring him. Not so my companion. She ran back in terror." This is after he fell out of his chair. This is after he fell out of his chair. This is after he fell out of his chair, bro. Like, what are we talking about? I'm gonna cry. "Not so my companion. She ran back in terror, knelt down and cried and soothed and entreated till he grew quiet from lack of breath, by no means from compunction at distressing her." So then, do you guys literally see the tears like forming in my eyeballs right now? So then Nellie goes, "I shall lift him on the settle, and he may roll about as he pleases. We can't stop to watch him." Bro, "I shall lift him on the settle, and he may roll about as he pleases. We can't stop to watch him." He may roll about as he pleases. We can't stop to watch him. What on earth? Why would you say that like that? Like, why? I get she's fed up. That shit is so funny. And then Kathy is talking to Linton, young Kathy, she's like trying to bargain with him, which there is no bargaining with him because he's insane. He says, I was not as ill when you entered, but I am at present. She says, but you've made yourself ill by crying and being in a passion. Okay. Like, that shit is funny. And there's a bunch of shit throughout the book that it's just like this, like, smart, dry, like, dark humor. It is hard to describe, and it is really just actually, like, kind of hard to find, I think, in modern media. So that being said, I felt insanely connected to Emily Bronte. I was like, during my read of Wuthering Heights, I was like, this is just so fabulous, because this is exactly, like, this is my cup of tea. Not because of Kathy and Heathcliff, literally just because of, like, writing style alone. Moving on from that, watching the movie. Here's what happened to me. And I am saying that this happened to me because I consider this a happening to me. Like, I feel like, hey, I'm a victim in this situation. Maybe I'm not. I'm not a victim in this situation, but you guys will see what I'm talking about. Okay. Sorry. I had to change the camera battery, you guys. And I don't even have to say what I'm going to do one of these days because y'all already know what I'm going to do one of these days. Like, just wait. Just wait on it. Just wait on it. Anyway, yeah, so I had to change the battery. What I was going to say is, here's what has happened to me now since seeing Wuthering Heights. So I saw the movie a couple weeks ago now. No, like about a week and a half ago. While I was not overly moved or really impressed at all, other than by like I said, like the gorgeous gowns. Like, that was really the only impressive part of the movie. It was distinctly, I think, devoid of sensuality, to be honest. I think that it read and felt as someone who has consumed more of it than anyone on earth will ever know, except the girls who know. Really, it just felt like fan fiction. And I mean, just like very high budget fan fiction, beautifully produced fan fiction, but certainly not necessarily like the most profound, like earth-shattering. It just wasn't, like, it just wasn't my favorite. It was just so not, I think if it was gonna be what it was gonna be, like, there is a way that I feel like she could have done that and made it really truly romantic and truly sensual. That being said, because I'm hot under the collar, but I cried. I did cry several times. Now, I'm gonna start by saying, I'm not even gonna preface, I'm just gonna start by saying, I really do think I cried because of, like, just personal reasons and, like, personal experiences that I've had. But what was happening while I was unpacking why I was, like, left in shambles at the end of that movie and sobbing, like, if I'm unpacking the feeling, right? What I felt at the end of the movie was, like, this overwhelming sense of, like, because basically the story of Wuthering Heights, right, is this, like, doomed romance, but the thing is that it's not doomed because it has to be. It's just doomed by choice. And I think I really resonate with this idea of just being doomed by choice. Because the thing is, as just me, myself, like, the way that I am as a person, and this is hard when you're, like, really type A and you, like, feel the need to control everything and you just feel like you always have to know the outcome. And this is in a sense, like, part of our conditioning. But one thing that I've been really working on is this need to control outcomes. And I've really been working on, like, letting it go and just letting things go in general. That being said, though, it's hard to catch yourself in the active practice of getting in your own way, because it just happens. Like if you're used to operating in a way where you're like, well, no, this doesn't look how I want it to look, and this doesn't sound like how I want it to sound, and this person is not who I want this person to be, and that, like, if you're in that and you're like literally like actively caught up in that, of course it's hard like to literally be in the moment, like, wait, take a step back. I talked about it a little bit on the last episode, where I was talking about or whatever episode I was talking about the unwritten, and how like the pen is just really in your hand. But one of my things that I've been struggling with is that I feel like I recently had an experience where, because I was so in my head about the experience, and I was so caught up in like what I wanted the other person to do and what I wanted the other person to say and what I wanted it to look like, I didn't realize all of the ways that it was showing up as almost exactly like what I've honestly like prayed for, like what I have like meditated for, like when I say prayed for, I don't mean like literally on my knees praying, but I mean like literally like when I'm taking time to meditate and I'm manifesting and I'm like calling things into my life. I literally feel like these things show up. And actually, no, this is a great time. I feel like this example is often misused. That being said, though, I think this is a great time for this example. The thing about the man in the boat and the man who's stuck in the storm. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there's like an old story, or I don't know what it's technically called, but it's an old story about a man who's like stuck in a flood, and he's stuck up on the roof of a house, and he's like sitting there on the roof of the house, and he's like praying, and he's like, God, please, like, save me. God, save me. Like, God, save me. And how the story goes is essentially like a fisherman comes by with like a little dinghy or something, and the man is like, and he's like, hey, do you need some help? And the man is like, no, I'm good. Like, God got me, basically. Hilarious. Religious psychosis, but that's a different conversation for another day. So then he's like, keeps the fisherman leaves, then he like keeps praying. I could be getting this example so wrong, by the way. I'm just saying it how I kind of remember it, but if you'll understand the essence, then you'll understand the essence. Basically, then like someone else comes by with some other way to help him, and he's like, no, I'm okay, like I'm waiting on God. Okay, sure. So he's on the roof of the house, the water is getting higher, it's torrential downpour, like he is about to get like eaten up by this flood, and he's praying, he's like, God, please. So then finally someone comes again, and he literally sends them away. So then he is essentially like in this moment, I think how it goes is that he is like in his like, I want to say he like dies, like he gets caught up in the flood and he like dies. So then he gets to heaven and he asks God, like, well, God, like, when I was down there and I was praying for you to save me and to help me, like, why didn't you help me? And God is basically like, well, babe, like, baby, I sent a fisherman and a dinghy, I sent a this, I sent a that, and you literally you sent them all on their way. Like, I tried. And I think that example, like that, whatever that is, and if whoever knows more about it, like, okay, sure, like, please, like, fill in whatever blanks, but essentially that is something that I personally really, really, really am like I am always so fearful that like I am sending away the dinghy, and I'm fearful of it, but it's interesting because like in my need to control and in my need for me to be like, well, this thing has to look specifically exactly like how I want it to look, I don't even realize a lot of the time. Like one of my things that I just don't want to be doing is like missing signs. And I know that there's also the whole position of like, well, what's meant for you will never miss you, or I saw this Substack note the other day that said like it was like in quotes, and it said like the right train, or the train that's meant for you will never pass you by. And this girl literally said that quote and then said, but it might. It literally might. if you basically, the essence of what she was saying was if you allow it to. And then someone in the comments was like, but I also do believe that the train will always, if it's really your train, it'll always come back around. I do think that all of these like thoughts have some merit, and there's like truth in all of this, right? But, and I really do believe that, but I know that what it really is going to take for me, and what it does take for me, and I just know this through like practice at this point, is slowing down enough and sitting with yourself enough that when the boat is showing up, you know that it's your boat, essentially, is the thing that I'm learning right now, right? And I think that the reason that Wuthering Heights made me cry is because something about, I hate miscommunication is my least favorite trope. Let's start there. I hate a miscommunication trope. The thing about stories like this that gets me every time is that I'm like, it just didn't have to go this way. Like, it didn't have to go this way. It just didn't have to go this way. But like in Wuthering Heights, because yeah, of course, like it's a trope for a reason. Like, of course, it never has to go that way. That's what makes it a story, right? That's what makes it a story. But as Heathcliff is literally at Kathy's deathbed and she's like bleeding out on the whatever, a really beautiful scene, I will say, like visually very stunning. I'm just like feeling the sadness of, I literally let this thing go, not even really by choice. I let this thing go out of pride or out of spite or out of stubbornness or out of a need to like prove something or prove someone wrong, or like I just think the things that motivate us are so like arbitrary. I'm like, the things that motivate a lot of people are just so arbitrary. Let's start there. Like, it's just so obvious that a lot of people operate in this way where things are kind of like it's like you set your own rules and regulations, but then you don't even set rules and regulations that serve you. And I think that's a discovery that I had recently about myself, which is why the movie hit so hard. Not because it was like this fabulous, amazing, beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful piece of cinema, just because I feel like I recently like let something slip through my fingers that I really, really, really did not want to slip through my fingers. But when I think about the situation, it happened that way just so obviously because of my own arbitrary rules. Like, again, like it's just not based in reason. Obviously, it's just me being like, well, no, like this can't work because I don't want it to work and I don't believe anything that's happening and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's all like rooted in like whatever. So obviously I'm crashing out, and in my crash out and subsequent crash outs, and as I've been thinking, another thing, because I also recently read All About Love by Bell Hooks, and while I don't necessarily agree with everything in that book, like I think it's the type of book where you just take bits and pieces of it and you take what resonates and you leave what doesn't. And there is certainly a lot in All About Love that does not resonate, but there's also certainly a lot that resonates. And that sort of, there's like an idea spoken of. Because the point of what I'm getting around to is that I really, really do think, one, that like, God, like the way that we are shaping things ourselves in this way that is so like detached and disconnected. Like, we talk about it and we talk about community, but we really don't talk about like love enough. And we don't talk about love like in a really positive or like serious way. And actually, I actually read this amazing Substack essay called How White Fear Killed the Romantic Comedy. This is not what I'm talking about, but because her points, she makes plenty of points. It's written by Ayan Artan. I could be saying that wrong. It's Ayan space Artan. Her Substack is called Rent Free. She writes a lot of very interesting things. How White Fear Killed the Romantic Comedy. So she basically, the point of what she's saying is that, no, actually, I'm not even going to go into the point of what she's saying. I'm going to go into what it was about this essay that really stood out to me. Is that, like, one of the things that she says is, I will cite that refusal to take stories that revolve around love seriously is robbing us of something precious, something we should guard. And she says several things that really ring true when you think of like how the whole point of what she's saying is that we as creators, and a lot of the ways that our media is currently what's being produced right now, it's missing a layer of humanity and like melancholy, and like it's just missing a layer that is so essential, but that layer is missing because we as people do not take love seriously and we don't take romance seriously. But one of the other things that she says is, and this is like the line that I don't know why this like especially resonated, but she says, try hard remains as scathing now as an insult as it did in the 90s or the 80s. And yet, the way our elders talk of romance is marked with a distinct ardor. Chasing down buses to get phone numbers, waiting outside record shops to catch a glimpse of a crush, hours spent making mixtapes. We would call the yearners of yesteryear performative love bombers if we ever encountered them now. And then she goes on to say, if we can't take love of all things seriously, what can we? Which, take what you want to take from that. The day that I read this essay, I was at coffee with a friend and we were co-working and we started talking about it a little bit. And I already, like, one of the things that I think about often is like the slow death of romance, and how like, and this honestly, like, as a person who I think lives a very romantic life and a life that is so full of love, and I don't say that in a way where I'm like, oh, my life is so, it's not. Like, we know the truth of my life. We know my reality. We know that I live with my parents. We know that, like, but when I think about, like, the way that I grew up and, like, the community that I grew up in and how, like, loving and, like, unplugged it all was and how, like, connected it was, it's always kind of been, like, I have always felt very wrong and, like, dissatisfied with the way that romance is being portrayed in mainstream media. That being said, so it really started, the idea has always kind of been there. It started as a gut feeling. I read all about love, and then that was something. And then I read this Substack essay, and then that was something. And it's like these feelings have been getting dug up. And then I had this experience that I had, and like that was something. And it's like it's been coming back up. And I think finally, like, when I was watching Wuthering Heights, the weight of all of it, like, it was just, I was like, what, like, how did we get here? Essentially, how did we get here? Like, how did we get to a place where love is so dead? And, like, it's so, like, it has just been completely, like, relegated to, it just has been, it's just, yeah. Like, I'm like, it's been just completely, like, demoted in importance to everything else. Like, it's literally been relegated just to everything else in our life. Like, we think about, and I know that there's a lot of talk about this, and there's a huge emphasis right now on community, and that's why community is so important, and like the male loneliness epidemic. And the thing is about it, I don't think that, like, I really do think that, like, it's not just men. First of all, I think that, like, everybody is, like, more lonely than before. But I also just think that, like, there is a way that we are existing that is just lacking honesty, that I don't think we, like, address or, like, talk about or acknowledge really at all. Like, there's a distinct lack of honesty, period, point blank, but especially, like, in terms of when it comes to love and building love and wanting love and I don't know. I think that I came to this conclusion really recently, and I guess I know how this is gonna sound, but it's just like, if love is a dream of yours, like true love is one of your dreams, I personally think what I was gonna say is that when I was talking to my friend over coffee, we kind of came to the conclusion that, like, well, if love is like a dream of mine, then why would I not treat it as such? Like, why would I not treat it as seriously as I treat my other dreams? Like, career wise, like, personal ambition wise, like, just like, why would I not treat it the same way and with the same level of seriousness as any of my other dreams? And obviously, like, I think that that requires an extremely high level of discernment and self love first. And I think that, like, obviously this is not like let the record show that, like, lover girl, like, saying, like, because I'm what I'm saying is, essentially, if you're a lover girl, then be a lover girl and chase it the way that you would chase any dream. However, it should be said that lover girl does not equal, like, stupid idiot. Hey, lover girl does not equal stupid idiot, and lover boy also does not equal stupid idiot. Like, and I just, that has to be clear, because I know how people like to bean soup, but it's just like, with this, with an understanding of self and a real self-love, I think comes then honoring that you want to prioritize love in your life, and you deserve to do that, and you deserve to chase the feeling. And prioritizing love through that lens, I think, is just like a lost, it's a lost art, because I think that a lot of times people are not looking at love that way. I feel like the way that we're looking at it now is so selfish, which of course is contributing to the death of romance. Because if it's overly selfish, then it's not really love. You know what I mean? If it has to look exactly like how you want it, then it's not really love. And the same, I mean, this is already an issue, because people are like, it's the same thing in any relationship, like with friendships or with partnerships or whatever. But yeah, I think that we owe it to ourselves to sit in the silence long enough to kind of acknowledge your truth, and, like, acknowledge our own truths out loud, and to, like, really, really give, like, our spirit the real things that it wants, you know, and to really say the things that we want to say, and to really chase the feelings that we want to chase. Like, you should chase the feeling. Whatever the feeling is, like, you literally should chase the feeling. And obviously, again, with discernment, hey, that should be obvious. Obviously, with discernment, do everything with discernment. But it's like, God, like, chase the feeling, like, just chase the feeling, whatever it is. And I feel like that's why people are lonely, and that's why people are unhappy. And there has been, like, an uptick, just even in my personal life, of people in relationships, out of relationships, like, just in general, like, people are lonelier than ever before. And I think that a huge part of beating that is taking yourself seriously, but taking love seriously. And not even just romance, but, like, love. Like, I don't think we take love seriously enough. Like, that's like familial love. That's like, and really take into consideration, like, what that looks like and what showing up lovingly looks like. Like, I just don't. And now we're in this insane place, which someone has definitely talked about, because I've seen this on the internet, but it's like, we're in this insane place where now it's just like, self-love is prioritized, but it's not real self-love, it's self-centeredness, and that is very different. You know what I mean? So I don't know, just interesting, the interesting realizations. But for me, like, the big takeaway, and, like, one of the big things that I've been, like, really sitting on this week is just like, is that, like, why have I'm like, girl, why have you been putting yourself through it? Like, you've been putting yourself through, and, like, I mean, to an extent, like, right now I'm locking in, and that is toward a greater purpose. And there is also something to be said for, like, having discipline and putting what you want most as, like, the immediate priority. But that also requires, I think, a level of honesty that a lot of people are not necessarily affording themselves. Like, there's just, I don't know. And I don't know that I necessarily know, like, how to get to the bottom of it. I know for me, it has helped tremendously. Like, the fact that I've been writing every day, and the fact that I've been journaling every day, and the fact that I commune with the stars every night. Like, I put out my towel and I like lay on my back and I just look at the stars because I live in a place where you can see the stars. Like, those things have been helping me. Working out, not going on walks, that would have been a lie. See, that would have been a lie. Going on walks would have been a lie. But working out, there are things that I think can be done, but I think the main step, or like the first step in doing those things and like cutting out the noise, is like, it really is like, man, like reducing the noise that comes from, like, for me at least, the noise that comes from the phone was the loudest one. So without that, it's really hella been me like sitting in silence every day, just like, I wonder what new message is gonna come from the universe today. That is like the discovery that we're having this week. That is like the adventure that we're on. Not mad about it. I'm excited about treating love like it's one of my dreams, because at the end of the day it is. And that's just my truth. And that is, I owe it to myself to be honest about that. It's my truth that love is one of my dreams, and if that is the truth, I should be treating it with that same level of severity. So yeah, excited about that. Don't necessarily know like what that looks like. I know it starts with self-love. I know it doesn't start with fucking Hinge. How about that? That's what I know it doesn't start with. It doesn't start with a dating app. Again, I don't really know what it starts with, but I know what it doesn't start with. I know it doesn't start with dating apps. I'm like, I know that that's not what that starts with. And I think what I'm doing now is good because it's allowing these like messages to come through, I guess. But point is, okay. There's another Substack that I wanted to talk about. I'm just going to link it. Would recommend. Moving on to recently viewed. Let's think about it. This week, I did listen a little spitefully to Brent Faiyaz's new album. Here's the thing. Here's my issue with that Virgo man. I think he's like toxic in the way that's like not funny, but like in a way where it's like, I oughta, like somebody oughta, like you deserve to get two-pieced. That's all. That's how I feel about him. I also think that the way that there has been a great deception, and maybe it's not a great deception. To me, it feels like a great deception. Because I'm like, just because he is talking about on this album how in love he is and how like he's just feeling like this melancholy and blah, 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 does not mean that he was not literally on that last album talking about how he wanted to beat her ass at the end of the day. And I'm like, hey, the North remembers all of the other things you said. But I also get, hey, people change their minds, but I'm like, that's a dangerous man right there. That's a dangerous man. So I don't know. That being said, hearing him wax poetic irritated me, and I did as soon as, like, I was not making more than like first verse on most of the songs, but there's one on the premium version called it's the one that was used on A$AP Rocky's Full Moon. That's good. That's been on repeat. Pleasure Is Mine by Don Toliver has been on repeat. K9 by Don Toliver featuring Saw Baby has also been on repeat. Circus Freestyle by Baby Keem. Those are like, that's what I've been listening to. What have I watched? Still watching Los Spookies. I'm on season 2 now. Y'all know that's my shite. Like, y'all know that is my shiznit for real. Still loving it. I'm reading a book in Spanish called El Libro Salvaje. Not very far into it. Hey, I'm about one chapter in, and it's taken me about a week to get through that one chapter. But you know what? I'm holding fast to, if I just keep reading it and translating it, like, it'll stick. It'll just stick somehow. And I've been listening to Spanish vlogs, and I've been listening to Spanish podcasts, and it's been like, and I've been listening to Bad Bunny still, like, but that being said, I'm just hoping that that'll kind of start sticking. I'm also reading The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which that's been pretty like entertaining so far. And I am reading The Artist's Way. Hey, we're back in it. The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way, I think, is one of those books that I don't know that anyone ever finishes it. Because I haven't really met someone who has finished The Artist's Way. So, that being said, I'm on about my fourth reread of the first 4 weeks. The first 4 chapters, I am like on my fourth reread of those first 4 chapters. I just got to chapter 4. This time it really feels like it's gonna stick. Like this time it does really feel like as if I'm gonna make it to the end. So we'll see. Reading The Artist's Way, that's been good. I've been seeing a lot of really, really good Substack essays and like getting a lot of those. So yeah, and I actually will like link some of the Substacks that I've been reading because I just think that they're worth sharing. That's that. That's that on that for this week. Cause you know what? We're over. I'm like, we're over. I did have so much more that I wanted to say, but it's okay. Like, hey, that's why we come back every week. That's why we come back every week. So that being said, love you, miss you, really want to kiss you, and we'll see you when we see you. We'll see you when we see you.